The Learning Tree, Chapter 17. Newt sat on a barrel in the corner of the kitchen, listening to the downpour vibrate the tin roof above him and watching Lou and Clara ready the evening meal. Realizing that if his mother died he might have to live with one or the other sister, he observed them closely, trying to decide which one he would rather be with. He liked them both, so he sat mentally sifting their habits and dispositions, applying them to his own simple yet important personal plans and desires. Clara's a little bossy, he thought. She'll probably want me to stay in all the time, want to pick all my friends too, but she likes to dress fancy, probably help me get some keen things to wear. Lou's easy-going and easy to fool. I like the way she fries potatoes, but she'd probably want me to go to church all the time. Sure had enough religion to last me a long time. Newt, put some wood on the fire. Hurry up now. Yeah, Clara's mighty bossy, all right. Okay, okay. He went out to the outer shed adjoining the kitchen, came with the wood, and stoked it in above the glowing grate. Then he returned to his perch on the flour barrel. Glancing into the dining room, he saw Maggie Pullens rise and walk toward the front of the house. When she came back, she said to Jack, "Sarah's breathing easy." "Doc Craven seems to think she's gaining," Jack said. "Glad to hear it." Maggie sighed. "'Cause I don't mind telling you that a white dove come and set on my window sill this morning. You know what that means. I thought the worst had come. Well, I dressed and grabbed this camphor bottle and got here as fast as I could. Supper's about ready, Papa. Get me some buttermilk, Prissy." "Yes, sir." Prissy switched back to the kitchen. "You want some buttermilk, Newt?" "Huh?" "Why don't you wash out your ears? I said, do you want some buttermilk?" "Sure I want some buttermilk, and I wash my ears more'n you wash your—" Newt, it was Clara. "Don't you dare use such language with your mamma on her dying bed." "Aw, I ain't said anything yet." He slid from the barrel and started for the dining room. Reaching the doorway, he turned to Prissy. "You know one thing, Twitchy Pants? One of these fine days you're going to turn up missing. Save your bluff for Marcus Savage, big boy. You don't scare Prissy none." "All right, you two cut it out and get to dinner." Clara whisked past them, carrying a big platter of chicken. "Come on, Papa." "Come on, Miss Maggie. There's plenty here for everybody. Pete, Roy, come on." A short time later, Jack began blessing the table. "Lord, make us truly thankful for—" "Help, help!" Newt sprang to his feet. "It's Rendy, Papa." "Sit back down, boy," Jack ordered. Then he got up and went to the door. "I'll handle this." He jerked open the door and peered into the darkness, the rain needling his face and arms. "Rendy! Rendy!" He could see her vaguely in the pouring black waterscape, carrying the baby, coaxing Butsy and shoving Jin up the slippery path. He rushed out to meet them. "What's the matter, girl? What are you screaming about now?" "It's Clint, Papa. He's got the shotgun." "I declare, where is he at now?" "Following us up the path," Rendy gasped. "Gideon out of the rain," Jack said, ushering them into the room. He looked back toward the dark path. "Why'd he pick a time like this to booze up?" Everyone was standing when Randy and the children scrambled through the door, soaked to their skins. Jack came in behind them and quietly forced the door shut. Lou took the baby, and the two small children stood there, big-eyed, shining in their wetness, until Clara moved over and began wiping their faces with her apron. "Now don't start that bawling, girl," Jack said to Randy. "Get your mama excited." Prissy stayed close to the older women, while Newt, Pete, and Roy stood watching their father. Suddenly, Jack seemed to realize he was confronted with Clint for the first time. He turned to his sons. "I don't want your mama hearing a fuss and getting upset, so you boys stay out of this. Get my hat and raincoat, Newt. Randy, you and the kids go into Chris's bedroom and stay there. Rest of you sit down and finish your supper. Now, everybody do as I say. Hurry up, Newt." Newt bounded across the floor with his father's hat and black rubber raincoat. He helped him into it, then grabbed his own overall jumper and started putting it on. "Take that jumper off, boy," Jack snapped. "Yes, sir." Newt dropped the jumper and moved to the table. Jack watched Randy hustle the children into Prissy's room. Then he finished buttoning his coat and started for the door. "Better be careful, Papa," Pete cautioned. "Don't worry, boy." Then he was out the door. He was pulling it shut when he felt the double barrels of the gun perched firmly against his belly. "Where's Rendy?" Clint drawled menacingly. Jack's voice was steady and low. "Boy, this ain't no time for trouble, and you know it, no matter how drunk you are." The gun pushed harder, and Jack backed off the pressure, but quickly it was upon him again, forcing him into the room where the others watched, horrified. "There won't be no trouble if you just get me Randy, Papa Wanger." A grin was set on Clint's face. "Where's she hiding?" "Close the door, boy. It's raining in here." We'll just leave it open. I aim to be going pretty quick." The gun moved up and down. "I ain't foolin'. Both these barrels is loaded, and there's plenty for reloading. Where is she? In the bedroom?" Maggie Pullins dashed out the kitchen door. "I'm calling Kirky," she cried. "Get back here!" Clint shouted, his eyes shifting toward her, but she was gone. His eyes were on Jack again, and he pushed him on toward the bedroom ahead of the gun. Pete, Roy, and Newt stood by the table, tense for action. "Clint, you ought to be ashamed of yourself," Clara scolded. "You know Mama's breathing her last." "Keep your fancy mouth shut, Clara, or you might get it too." The gun raised to Jack's chest. "All right, Papa Winger, move away from the door." "You're going to have to kill me first." Jack's right hand inched toward a flat iron on the pressing board nearby. "Okay, hands up high," Clint barked. The gun was against Jack's forehead now, fuzzing his view of all except the long, black steel barrels through which the blast would come. They seemed to spread across his entire forehead. He could see Clint's wet knuckles shining and trembling beneath the finger on the trigger. "Okay, Papa, I'm counting to 5, Clint said. "If you ain't out of the way by then, off goes the top of your head. 1." Pete had motioned everyone back, and they were all now in Clint's right. 2. Pete grabbed a plate from the table and threw it at the door. It struck with a startling crash. As Clint wheeled toward the noise, Jack felt the barrel rims tearing across his forehead. He heard the blast, splintering the door and the screams. Everyone had fallen to the floor except Jack. He grabbed the flat iron, threw it just as Clint bounded through the door. The iron missed Clint and sailed into the open. Clint sprinted for the cornfield, emptying the smoking shell chambers as he ran. He continued several yards in among the stalks, then stopped to reload. Sarah had awakened with the blast, and Jack rushed to her bedside, sopping blood from his gashed forehead with a dish towel. "Oh, my, he's been doing fine till now," Sarah said. "Wonder what got into him." "The devil. What else?" Jack answered. "Where's Randy and the kids now?" "In the bedroom till Kirky comes." "Kirky?" "Yeah. Maggie ran out and phoned him. No more shooting, I hope." He patted her arm. "Now don't go getting excited, Sarah. Everything's going to turn out all right. Where is Snoop?" "In with his brothers guarding the doors. Keep him out of the way, Jack. He might try something foolish." "I'm watching him. Don't worry." He pulled the cover up under her chin. "There's Kirky's cycle. Better get out there." Kirky came stalking through the rain with 2 pistols drawn. Doug Simpson and Bull Terry's hastily formed posse flanked him, each of them carrying a high-powered rifle. These 2 had come in Doug's Ford. The rain had slackened, but they were all wearing slickers. Jack and his sons met them in the yard. "Where's Clint hiding, Jack?" Kirky's tone was brusque and mean. "Don't know for sure. He made for the cornfield there." Thunder rumbled in from the west, and lightning streaked across the black sky. "I'll bring him out if I have to drag him out by his goddamn heels," Kirky growled. He turned toward the field. "Come on, men. Keep low and be careful. This bastard's crazy when he's boozed up. We'll go in about 10 feet apart. I'll take the middle. Doug, you take the left. And Bull, you cover from the right. When we spot his position, blast in this direction, not to the side. We'll go in 10 steps at a time and stop. Wait till you hear me before going any further. Got it straight?" "Yeah, we understand." "Okay, let's go." Jack touched Kirky's arm. "Let me call him first. Maybe he'll give up." Kirky shook his head. "I'm calling the signals now, Jack. You and your boys had better get out of the way now." He motioned them aside with his guns. Jack ordered the boys into the house, and Newt said, "If only Mama wasn't sick." "Kirky won't give him a chance, Papa." "Ain't much we can do now, boy. It's all Clint's doing." Kirky and his men were at the edge of the cornfield. "All right, Clint, it's Kirky," he bellowed. "You coming out, or do I have to come in and drag you out?" Except for a low rumble of thunder and rain beating on the cornstalks, there was silence. Kirky motioned to the ground with his guns, and his deputies crouched low, took 10 steps in the field, and stopped. "Okay, Clint, you better yell out your position so we don't shoot." Silence. "Okay, men, 10 more." He was speaking softly now. They had just taken the 3rd step when the thunder and lightning cracked above their heads, and at the same time Clint let go with the blast, shearing the corn tops above them. The 3 men dropped to their bellies and returned fire. Crack, bam, bam, crack. Then there was silence again. Suddenly Clint's voice chided from another part of the field. "What are you waiting on, Kirky, you redneck son of a bitch? You scared?" The posse crawled 10 paces toward the direction of the voice. Boom! Clint blasted again. The 3 flopped to their bellies, and their guns fired back into the wet, swaying corn. "All right, men," Kirky said. "Crawl out to where we started. We got a track from another position." They scooted back to the edge of the clearing. "This ain't the jazzy little party you told us it'd be, Kirky," Bully said, wiping the mud from his face. "That black bastard's shrewd as a fox. Don't worry, we'll get him. Don't worry." Kirky was wiping his gun. A light had appeared in the doorway, and through it came Pete and Roy, carrying their mother into the yard. She was heavily wrapped in quilted blankets. Clara and Lou held umbrellas over her head and body. "What's this?" Doug motioned toward the house. Kirky and Bull turned to look, and Kirky dropped his guns to the side. "Who's that they're carrying?" Bull asked. "Jack's wife. Must be out of their minds. She's half dead." Kirky started waving them back, but they kept coming. Jack walked over to Kirky and said, "He'll come out if he knows she's here." "You're crazy, Jack. Get her back to bed. Clint's gone loco. He'll kill anybody now." "Try it her way," Jack said. "Now, call out to him," Sarah Winger said, and Newt cupped his hands around his mouth. "Clint, Mama Winger's out here. She wants you to come in. Can you hear me, Clint?" After a moment, Clint's voice came from a new direction. "You're lying, Newt. She's in bed. You get back out of the way." "Honest, Clint, she's here. We'll turn the car lights on her so you can see her for yourself." "No, don't you turn those lights on," Kirky shouted. "Maybe we ought to let her give it a try," Doug urged. Kirky shrugged, and Doug rushed to the car, started it, and switched on the headlamps. He drove up the path and stopped, with the lights flooding the group. "Here she is, Clint," Newt hollered. "See for yourself." There was a slight rustling in the field, and Kirky's hands tightened on the guns. Everyone else stood rigid and quiet. "Don't try no monkey business," Clint called out. "If it ain't her, I'll shoot. Turn her to the light." Roy and Pete turned their mother to the beams of the light. "Come on, before Mama gets soaked," Pete yelled. Clint was on his belly now, snaking his way in, the gun barrels parting the stalks before him. He halted a moment, then continued in a crawl, stopping finally within a few feet of the clearing. "That you, Mama Winger?" The question was almost whispered. "Yes, Clint, come ahead. Nobody's going to harm you." "You sure?" "I'm sure. Come on." Clint wriggled quickly to the edge, then jumped and burst from the cornfield toward Sarah. "Drop that gun," Kirky bellowed. Clint ran for the refuge of the group, dropping the gun in the mud. Jack's fist cracked against his jaw, sending him to the earth. He got up groggily. "Get in the house, you lunatic," Jack said heatedly, grabbing him by the scruff of the neck. "I declare I oughta—" He shoved Clint into the house. They carried Sarah back into her room, where Lou and Clara removed the wet blankets and covered her with dry ones. Clint came in, dropped to his knees, and started praying. Randy observed him a moment or two, then she moved over and knelt beside him, but Kirky stepped in and grabbed Clint's shoulder. "Come on, Clint, you're going in." "Leave him to me, Kirky," Sarah said. "You didn't get him, I did." Kirky looked at her, then Jack. "Okay," he grunted. He motioned Bull and Doug from the room, and they stomped out of the house without looking back. "I'll get that bastard yet," Kirky growled as they crossed the yard. Doc Cravens met them near the end of the walk. "What's going on?" he asked. "When you find out, tell me, Doc. I'd like to know, too." Kirky snorted as he mounted his motorcycle. Newt was undressing for bed when Pete called. "Mama wants you, Newt." "Something wrong?" "She's asking for you. You better come right away." Newt walked slowly to the bedside. He sensed the others in the room, but he looked only at his mother, noting her sunken cheeks, the pallor lying like silk over her deep brown skin, the dullness of her eyes between the half-closed lids. "Come close, son." Her face twitched to a faint smile as she spoke. Newt dropped to his knees and touched his lips to her cheeks, and through his hands, resting on her thin arms, he realized the full extent of her suffering. "How are you feeling, Mama?" She looked at him for a moment before answering. "I'm going, son. Just wanted a few words with you." Newt's eyes began to water. "Now, don't go puckering up," Sarah said, smiling. "I'm ready. I'm happy. I don't want any crying from any of you." She was silent for a few moments, seemingly gathering strength. Doc Cravens pressed a damp cloth against her forehead, propped an extra pillow behind her neck, and took her pulse. Randy, Lou, Clara, Prissy, Roy, and Pete stood off to the side. Jack was in front of them, his smokeless pipe hanging from his lips. The rims of his eyes were swollen and red. Sarah went on. "Your sisters are taking you back north with them. Promise me you'll mind them and keep out of trouble." "I promise." "It's another kind of world up there, Newt. Hope and more promising things. Put something into it and you'll get something out of it. Make it come true." "Yes'm. Make a good man of yourself up there. It's a dream of mine for you to make it come true." "I'll try." "You'll do it." "Yes, I will. Do the right thing, not always the easiest. Believe in something and live up to it. Be good, son. Be—" "She's sleeping now, son," Doc Craven said. "You better get to bed."